2 a.m., and I was alone in my house. I live in an old place, a house built in the 1920s. The floors creak with every step. The walls groan with the wind. It's the kind of place that's perfect for a horror story, I know. But this was my home, or at least I thought it was. I had just gotten home from hanging out with some friends and was too tired to stay up much longer. As I walked up the stairs, I thought I heard a faint sound coming from the basement. It was so soft, I thought maybe it was just the house settling. But then I heard it again, a whisper, clearer this time. At first I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was the wind or something, but the sound didn't stop. It was coming from the basement. I had to check. I didn't want to be scared, but something in my gut was telling me to listen closely. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen and made my way down the stairs. As I got closer to the basement door, I felt a chill that seemed to cut right through me. The whispering was louder now, and I could distinctly hear words. "Help me!" The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I froze. I wasn't sure if I should open the door, but curiosity pushed me forward. I opened it just a crack. The room was pitch black, but I swear I could hear breathing from inside. Ragged, shallow breaths. I backed away, slamming the door shut. My heart was pounding in my chest. I thought about calling someone. Hell, I thought about leaving the house entirely, but instead I just stood there, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. Then I heard it again, the whisper. It was now right behind me, as though someone was standing in the hallway, breathing down my neck. The voice was different this time, darker, more urgent. "Let me out!" I spun around, but the hallway was empty. I haven't slept properly since that night. I don't know what was in that basement, or if it's still there. But every time I hear a whisper now, I freeze. And I wonder if it's the same voice, calling me, waiting for me to open the door again. I've always been a skeptic. Ghost stories? Nah, I never bought into them. That was until last year when I moved into a new apartment in the city. It's a small place, 1 bedroom, a little living room, and a bathroom. Nothing fancy, but it was affordable, and I liked it. I'd just gotten out of a bad relationship, and I wanted to be alone for a while. One night, I was getting ready to go out and was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, putting on my jacket. It was a little after 7 p.m., still light outside, but the apartment was already starting to feel stuffy. As I adjusted my collar, I caught a glimpse of something strange in the mirror. It wasn't much at first, a shadow, like a figure standing just behind me in the reflection. I turned around, but no one was there. The bathroom door was closed. I brushed it off, telling myself I was just tired, maybe imagining things. But when I turned back to the mirror, I saw it again. A silhouette of a person standing behind me, except this time they were closer. I could feel it. My heart raced. I spun around once more, but nothing, just me, alone in the bathroom. I stared at my reflection for a second, trying to calm down. When I looked back into the mirror, I saw it again. This time the figure wasn't just standing behind me, it was moving. It raised a hand. I watched in horror as it reached out towards me, as if trying to touch me. My own reflection, still frozen in place, didn't move. I screamed and ran out of the bathroom, but the feeling of being watched stayed with me. The weird thing, every time I looked at the mirror after that night, the figure was always there, always just out of view. It hasn't happened in a while, but when I moved out last month, I found something strange. On the back of the bathroom mirror, there was a faint scratch, almost like someone had tried to claw their way out. I'll never forget that summer. It was a blistering hot day, and I had the whole house to myself. My parents had gone out for the weekend, and I was just lounging around, watching movies, trying to avoid the heat. Around midnight, the power went out. I thought it was just a blackout, so I went to bed with a few candles lit around the room. I don't know why, but something told me to get up and check the roof. It was the strangest feeling, like I had to. I opened my window, climbed out onto the fire escape, and stepped up onto the roof. The city was quiet, the stars were barely visible, and everything seemed fine at first. Then I heard it, the sound of footsteps, slow, measured, someone walking just a few feet behind me. I froze, thinking maybe I was just hearing things, but the sound kept getting louder, coming closer. I turned around and saw nothing. The roof was empty. I figured I was just being paranoid, so I started to head back inside. That's when I felt it, the pressure of something right behind me, like a presence breathing down my neck. I turned again, but this time I saw it, a shadow, not a person, but something taller than me, with long arms that seemed to stretch across the roof. It moved just as I did, mirroring my every step. When I stopped, it stopped. When I took a step back, it took a step back. I bolted for the window and climbed back inside the house, locking the window shut behind me. The whole night I could hear the footsteps, pacing around outside my room, never stopping. The next day, the roof was perfectly fine. No signs of anyone being up there. But I know what I saw. Whatever it was waiting for me. And I have no idea if it's still out there or if it's following me. This happened when I was a teenager. During a camping trip with my friends, we were out in the woods, deep in the woods, miles away from civilization. We had set up camp, had a few beers, and were telling stories around the fire. It was supposed to be just a fun weekend. That night, I went out to the edge of the camp to take a leak. As I was finishing up, I thought I saw something moving in the trees, just a flicker of motion. At first, I thought it was just an animal, maybe a deer or something, so I didn't think much of it. But then I heard a voice. Hey, it was quiet but clear. It came from deeper in the woods. I wasn't sure if it was one of my friends messing around, so I called out, "Who's there?" No answer, just the sound of something moving in the leaves. I felt uneasy, but I figured I was just imagining things, so I went back to the camp. The next morning, one of my friends, Jack, was missing. We searched the whole area, called out for him, but there was no sign of him anywhere. Then in the distance, I thought I saw an old man standing by a tree staring at us. When I walked closer to him, he just looked at me. No expression, no movement, and his eyes, they were black, not just dark, but empty, like there was nothing inside. I tried to ask if he'd seen Jack, but before I could speak, he turned and walked into the trees. I followed him for a few steps, but when I turned around to go back to camp, I realized something terrifying. I had no idea where I was. I was lost. When I finally made it back to camp, Jack was sitting there as if nothing had happened. He didn't remember anything, and we left right after that, never to return. I'm not sure what I saw in those woods that day, but something tells me it wasn't just an old man. Something in those woods is still watching us.